of the days go wrong and then some of the days go right. Meaning life can make you weak, but we can walk you to the light. The life where dreams come true are just the nightmares of the hype. Where love and hate are roommates, pleasure and pain are friends. Peace and war and lovers, insane and insane are twins. Cause I want it all and nothing ain't enough for me. And all I need is love, but why y'all all up under me? Plus I would like to see every single lady's sex face. At the same time, man, I'm looking for my soulmate. I feel so religious, spirits living up above. But I gotta admit, I want my chariot with doves. And I could be your Superman and I could set you free. But honestly, I need the cash and I'm charging a fee for my cigarettes and water, my fruit juice and my alcohol, my salads and my pork chops. I got high cholesterol. Lois said she loved me, then she hit me up for child support. Lex baby mama ain't gon' never take his ass to court. Got me in this nightclub, trying to get my mind right. When she bent over, I was looking at my whole life. So once upon a time on a planet called Earth, a man dug in his pockets just to see what he was worth. Well, rabbit ears were more than Eric B. and Rakim. Then the infinite power that he was holding within got him kinda confused, obligated, misused. Got in front of a microphone a couple times and he spewed his whole guts. Some of the things he loved and some of the things he loves. Some of the funky hate, some of the funky trust. And thus mixtape became an album. Your first installment has started. You're welcome.
What's good people? You see how you see the thumbnail. You're gonna get the topic in a second. So the issue, I was on a panel earlier today, case closed. Shout out to everybody on the panel. And we're talking about the political thing. I talked about that yesterday on the live, so I'm not really gonna get into that again. But what I am gonna talk about is, if you don't know what the thumbnail is from, it's Joey Badass. I didn't forgot the name of it's like a movie / short film where he was in a time loop over and over and over again, and it ended bad for a minute, right? But he started predicting what was going to happen because he had been in it so much. And what I see in our society, especially with us Black men, is basically the older you get, the more of a rerun you see. And that's not just a racial thing. It's just the way America works. It does the same thing over and over and over again. And the issue becomes, you're looking at a world of people who act like, every cycle is completely different when it's not. And at the same time, you don't know if they're participating because they like, at the end of this rerun, you get screwed and I get the benefit. So we're going to just act like this rerun is a new thing. And then you got people who, are legitimately just oblivious, and they might look at you as like, man, you're so wise. Like, I didn't even see that. How could you predict that? And it's like, because it's the same thing. Over and over again, it's the same thing. So what I see is like earlier we were talking about, do you need to mentor the young boys and look out for the young boys, the young Black boys, and they become men. And I was like, that doesn't work because, it's a rerun. So what I mean is, if you're a Black boy and you need a mentor, what would normally happen is you would have your mentor would either use you if you didn't have any skills that they can exploit, or they will work you that way. If you had an attractive mother, they might try to holler at your mom, or your mama might try to holler at them, which kills mentorship. Or you start to realize that, this mentorship is probably not for your best interest, but um, if it's an entity, the entity's best interest. Or you feel you wind up getting used and manipulated because you have a talent and skill that somebody older tries to exploit. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't people who look out for people, but for the most part, people were getting used. So then you have young boys who become men. You're like, why don't you be a mentor? We're not doing that. You know, because even with that, you become the guy who everybody uses. Even the mentors get hustled too. You know, could you give me this? I need this. I need clothes. I need some food. I need some shoes. You become a mentor and you become a pseudo family member that just gets used by multiple different kids to the point where as a mentor, you go, I'm done. I'm done. Because you see it keeps happening over and over again. And people keep acting like, oh, that's just, you had a bad experience. And it's like, no, the vast majority of people have having the same experience year after year after year, decade after decade after decade. You know, you get to the schools when you're a young boy, it's a rerun. The reason the schools love you if you're a black athlete. Why? Because people buy tickets, people buy merchandise, you know. So the school likes to talk about academics, but when it comes to black boys in particular, if you can't pack the house at a football or basketball game, the school really don't care about you like that. That's maybe track, not baseball, because baseball doesn't get a lot of eyes in high school like that. And that also leads into college. That's a rerun. That's how college is set up. Because most of the biggest colleges of in America, the reason why you know them because they have either a football or a basketball program. That's what's made them well known and what's made the university a big thing. It's not the academics. It's not. So you see this over and over and over again. We see the rerun even with the people like to go school or prison pipeline, but really there's a bigger school of military pipeline because guess what? If you don't go to college and you don't go to trade school, your best option is probably the military. And you already going to know, you've seen it time and time again. If you go in the military, it's still going to be the good old boy system in effect. That's how it's going to go. They're going to get promotions before you. They're going to make more money than you. The same thing with corporate America. You see the rerun over and over and over again. So, and even though I don't want to necessarily get into it, even this political thing, you see the same thing over and over again. The black community need to do something. And which means, black men, you need to do what the women say you need to do. Because politics in the black community ain't about you anyways. If they say vote this way, that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, it's a rerun. You can take that to the church. You're a young boy, you grew up in a church. It took you to church all the time. and then you realize the church really don't rock with you like that, and then you become a teenager, and you try to get away from it a little bit. You become college age. If you're a singer or something, or a musician, you'll stay in it, but you'll wild out a little bit. But if you're not those things, you kind of gradually just get away from church. It's not to say you don't like God, but you don't like the church atmosphere, because the church atmosphere is a lot of times detrimental to guys. And you see it over and over and over again. Because what you wind up seeing is people are trying to bring men back to church who were, what you would say, down on their luck and wayward. But the people who just live in their day-to-day life, they're like, I'm not, you're not finna waste my time on a Sunday. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. You know, with white America, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Black men are the boogeyman, and you got to watch out because the blacks. It's like, whatever. you know Black men are to blame for things, for things that we don't create, we don't control. you know or we're to blame for something that everybody else is doing also, but when we do it, it's just the worst thing on the planet. It becomes, it just becomes redundant, because you see the rerun over and over and over again. You see the young boys. It's like, listen, you're young, and you're trying to be young and fly or fashionable, or you're young and you kind of shy, or you're young and you're trying to play the tough guy role. It doesn't matter. No matter how you slice it, people are not gonna like what you're doing. If you're too fly, it's a problem. If you're too shy, it's a problem. If you acting like a tough guy, it's a problem. And in all of those aspects, all of those things are going to bring unnecessary attention to you, and you're going to wind up in a problematic situation. And a lot of those situations you might not have even put yourself into. It was somebody else's jealousy, somebody else's insecurity, somebody else who wants to, or having a superiority complex, and they want to make fun of you because they want to feel better about themselves, or somebody else. How can I say this? Wanting to prove themselves, to be mad at the world, or whatever you want to call it, right? So they could take it out on you, which I'm going to get into that too. It's a rerun for black men. Because when other groups of people are mad at life, or they're mad at themselves, or they're mad at any situations, a lot of times, what do? You find some black boy or black male to take it out on. I don't care if you're a teacher, a police officer, a parent. You get what I'm saying? A family member, a friend of the family, all that stuff. A referee in a game. It doesn't matter. People in the crowd. It doesn't matter. So you start seeing this over and over again. You start realizing, oh, if I go here, I'm gonna have a problem. If I go there, I'm gonna have a problem. And then the rerun happens over and over again, to the point you start realizing, if I go at this time, it's not an issue. If I go at that time, it's not an issue, because you realize you're unwelcome. Just like when I was talking about, a minute ago, you're gonna be you're gonna be messed with if you're too fly or too shy, or you look too tough. Guess what happens? When you're a teenager, when you become a young adult, and you want to go out into the world, they're gonna mess with you, because you're gonna be too, if you're too fly, you too shy, or you look too tough. They're gonna mess with you either way. You know, that's how that's gonna go. If you go out and you too fly, somebody gonna try to try to cause a problem with you. If you too shy, somebody gonna look at you as a target and try to cause a problem with you. If you look too tough, Somebody gonna try to mess with you, try to knock you down a peg, even if you just minding your business. It's a rerun. It's a rerun over and over and over again. It's the same thing when it comes to making money in America and the capitalism of America. When it comes to you, people are always going to try to shortchange you. If you're a kid and people don't want to hear this, it's not so much now because people don't carry around the cash like they used to. If you're a kid and you used to go to stores with cash on you, if you're a black kid, there's been times where you gave, let's just say you had a 20 on you and you spent $5, they'll give you back a $5 bill and say you gave them a 10. And then play the, oh, you gave me 10, you gave me 10. No. I'll call the police. You've been there. People try to short you. People ask you to do work for them, even if they want to do something. If you're a kid, like, hey man, I'll pay you to do this, that, and the third. They're gonna try to short you. You get to college, you get a job, the people at the job are gonna try to short your hours or give you the lowest possible pay they can give you and pay somebody else more, because at that young age, you're not supposed to ask people how much they make per se. And then you get into the workforce. What do people do? They, oh no, you have to negotiate. Yeah, right. It's funny when you negotiate, you still wind up with less than other people who negotiated. Interesting, ain't it? And you find out you've asked for the exact same thing they've asked for, but somehow you didn't get it and they did. So it's a rerun. You have to do more in America with less. From a child to an adult to a grown man to an old man. The goal is for you to do everything you can in America to benefit other people, and you receive the least amount for it. That's what it is. So when we talk about certain things going on in life, we see it as a rerun. Thus, like, this is why it's easy for black men to see the coming horizon, because of America's debt and how America's set up as far as the deficit, and as far as how inflation is going. A lot of other groups of people, for some odd reason, can't figure out why they're getting played by, why the rent keeps going up, why the food keeps getting more expensive. Oh, you wanted to work from home? Oh, you did want to do remote work? Oh, you moved and you thought it was going to be all good? Oh, no, you got to come back to work or you're fired. Now you lose your job. Yeah, see, the games people play, they ran out of black. I could say it this way: they ran out of people in the black community to screw over, because America got so greedy it wanted to do this with everybody, and then it didn't trickle down, it trickled up to white America. So when we're watching what's going on in America and all these people having issues, and how, how can I put it? Your insurance companies don't actually insure you like they're supposed to. We've seen that before. It's a rerun. You're trying to figure out, how are you doing all the right things in life, or doing what's considered to be the right things in life in America, and you're really not benefiting from it. You know why? Because it's a rerun for us as black men. You know, Be a good human being and a productive citizen. Things should work out for you. But that's not true when it's a black man. It's not true. When you see news stories of it's not congressmen, but politicians, mayors, a man gets found innocent from DNA, but then your mayor says, I just want to keep him in jail because I don't have a real reason, but I think he should just be there. Yeah, it's black men. You know, and that also. So now what you're seeing is this idea that America's being competitive. No, it's not. The reason why um the workforce is the way it is, where people felt like um you know the immigrants were taking your jobs, or um illegal immigrants are coming, or people from other countries you know were getting other people's jobs, whether they're in the country or whether there's what the heck is that, or whether there's like a call center somewhere in India or something like that. What is that about? This is a rerun for black men. you know what do you think slavery and Jim Crow was? The cheapest labor you could find. So what does America do? Try to find the cheapest labor they could find in the country and outside of the country. So when people go, oh man, people are not hiring. Yes, they are hiring. But to hire you, let's just say an American citizen, they feel like it costs too much. So they're not going to do it. And what they're doing is just making everybody a sharecropper, just in a modern form. Just like when you see, we talked about the banks, buying up homes and making everybody a renter. You, we've seen that before. I talked about it, you know, with my grandfather when he couldn't really get a home loan. What was it, the GI Bill? He couldn't get his, right? So he had to, he made a deal with a white dude, basically. He could buy the house because it was legal for the white dude to do it, and they would give it to him, even though it was legal, for black people to get homes, but you wasn't gonna give a black person a home loan. So the white dude got the loan. My grandfather paid for the house basically over years, and the guy was like, I don't know what you're talking about, nigger. Get out of here. So we've seen this before. We've seen how every 20, 30 years, gentrification happens over and over and over again. Because if you were to talk to your parents and your grandparents, they'll tell you the same story. White folks used to live over here. Then black people came, they moved. They had this little enclave over here. And then they got sick of being in the suburbs, as far as it's too far to go to work. So then they moved back, to the city, and the black people moved to the suburbs. And then you go through the same thing over and over and over again. From downtown to the suburbs, downtown to the suburbs, downtown to the suburbs. And each time black folks was getting overpriced, you know. But now it's you know it's America set up where if you move from the city to the suburbs, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. If you move from the suburbs back to the city, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. So now you're figuring out what we figured out a long time ago. They're gonna try to get you coming and going. Okay. So now people are upset. It's okay. The other thing, and this is an old thing. They'll tell you, white America does stuff, that benefits white America, and when black folks catch on to it and do it, then they cancel it and scrap it. Why do you think the bankruptcy laws are the way they are now? Because the bankruptcy laws used to be, you bought stuff, you bought a house, you bought cars, you couldn't afford it, you couldn't pay it off, you couldn't pay your debts, you file bankruptcy, but you keep the property. Now that's still stupid to me, but it is what it is. But that's why you saw people, you know, if y'all don't, if you're not old enough to know this, that's why you saw a lot of white people and rich white people in the 80s have multiple bankruptcies, because they was using bankruptcy as a tool to gain assets. But then, slowly but surely, black people caught on to that. By the 90s, oh, no, 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 you can't do that no more. So now, this idea of you can't just offload all your debts is a thing, and yeah, it'll be on your credit for 7 years. No, 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 no. It's work. You got to pay this stuff now. It's to the point that, they taking stuff when you die. Now, they did that before. Don't get it twisted. They did that before. But back in the day, from what I remember, they was only collecting from black folks when they died. I don't remember. I don't recall. I can't think of white high profile people or white people who owed a gang of money when they passed away, and they were repossessing everything until they got paid. But that's a hellified story with black folks in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So now they're doing it to everybody in the country, and people don't know how to handle it. So it's a thing. So then we have this whole situation as far as, and I say this, as far as like policing. It's a rerun, because you get young men who want to be wild and rambunctious. You get a small percentage of young men, young boys, young teenagers who want to be wild and rambunctious, and who want to be criminals, right? Then the vast majority of black boys got to pay for that, because now you're all a suspect, no matter what you're doing. And then the older you get, the less drama you're in, and but in that interim, let's just say 18 to 25, yeah, you can say 18 to 30. You're gonna get your fair share of run-ins unnecessarily, just to check your temperature, just to see, if can I bust you, can I try to bust you, can I beat you up, because what happens is, the older us as black men get, they really can't blame us for a lot of this criminality. So what winds up happening is, they got to focus on other people, and instead of focusing on other people, what they do is they just go to young black boys. So you see it over and over and over again. But the problem with that is, now is, you just can't focus on young black boys, because all these other groups of people are really doing the most. And now these cities can't justify what's really going on. Because when I was a kid, You had the Dare program, but not only did you have the Dare program, a lot of stuff was just on regular TV, 80s, 90s, regular TV. And one of the things they put up about crime since, you would say, Iran Contra, or what people know is the crack era, they started documenting what countries drugs came from and what cities and states they would go to predominantly. So now, whether people like to admit it or not, it's known. Now people are making movies about it and shows about it. They made movies about it in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020s. Now they just a gang of information, to the point where it's bad when you have multiple Hollywood movies and television shows and series about what has gone on, and you see the same type of faces over and over again. The reason I say what I'm saying is, we've watched before the United States government and law enforcement purposely overlook other groups of people's criminality, and they thought their communities got better, but they increasingly got worse. It's just now there's really no policing to it. So now what you see as fair game is, you're seeing over and over again, people are getting caught doing too much because they're so accustomed to doing too much. And that's becoming a stain on America, in the sense of, you got too many people openly, oh, I'm doing shrooms, and I'm doing acid, and I'm popping pills, and we do weed, and we got all these different strands, and people are taking fentanyl, and people are taking heroin, and people are taking prescription drugs. And it's like, yep. And nobody's going to jail. Nobody's getting arrested. Nobody's getting busted. So what happens is the criminality gets worse. You have pill mills and doctors, and we're watching this stuff because we've seen it over and over and over again. We've seen white kids in high school be potheads, be coke heads, be pill heads. And they go to college, and some of them get worse, or they don't go to college, and they wind up being a drain on their family and their community. But they don't get blamed for it, And the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, because it's so bad that the current president's son is on that kick right now. That's how bad it is. It's a rerun. That's certain people need, what do you call, rehabilitation, and other people need incarceration. We've seen this already. Rehabilitation don't really work for them folks. They just covered it up well. Now, the other thing, like, I see we like to talk about the Hotep metaphysical black folks. It's a rerun for us as black men. We've seen other black men and black women go down this path of free spiritedness and enlightenment because just the pressures of society on you as being black, makes you I just don't want to, man. I just want to go live in the woods. I just want to be out to myself. I just want to feel free. I feel like a slave in America, so I just got to feel free. We've seen that over and over and over again. And what winds up happening is what? You get the people who wind up going to jail and they come out all metaphysical. You get the people who didn't pay attention in school, and because they just didn't want to do nothing, because they were just anti everything. They was throwing a teenage tantrum, and they didn't do anything with their life. So then they become all metaphysical. And then you get the people who, you know, had these great ideals about the world. You know, we can all live together and be together and kumbaya. And then they got around everybody else and they got their little heart broken and it broke their mind and their spirit. And now they got to be metaphysical as a form of therapy. And then you wind up with a community of people who are looking at you as a black man like, hey man, you gotta look, man, I need you to hold a bunch of people down, you know, because you're gonna get multitudes of people coming into your life and they just living vicariously through their ideas, but they need a place to stay. They need some money here. You know, part of what your brother said, you know, weed and shrooms don't hurt nobody. It does. It doesn't hurt the weed head, the shroom head, or the coke head, but it does hurt the people that's gotta give them a place to stay. It does hurt the people who they run up their light bill. It does hurt the people who, you know, now even that metaphysical thing went to gaming, you know, because people just don't want to deal with society. So I just want to sit in the house and play video games. But somebody else has to pay for that. You know, I remember seeing all the older black men when I was a kid in the 80s looking bummy and dusty because they working 12-hour days, you know, just grinding every day. But everybody else around the house, you know, is just living a best life. I remember granddads working until they died, not really retiring, and everybody else living off of their pension or their retirement or, you know, what do you call it? Life insurance. People want to play that game like it didn't happen, but it happened. And we've seen that, and it's a rerun because you're seeing it again. And those guys in that time were looked at as deadbeats. You know, those are the guys who walked away from their families, this, that, and the third. They had multiple families over here and over there. But those guys were taking care of a gang of people. You know, a gang of people. So now what people are asking brothers to do, take care of a gang of people. I need you to mentor the kids. I need you to take care of women. I need you to take care of the single mothers. I need you to take care of the people, you know, the brothers out here who are who are incarcerated. You need to help them when they get out. I need you to take care of the immigrants. I need you to take care of the LGBT community. I need you to take care. It's like, nah, dog. While everybody else is just, you know, out here just living their best life. And don't get it twisted. I've seen women go through that, you know, because I've seen a lot of grandmothers taking care of their grandkids. I've seen that time and time again, but it's a rerun. And let me tell you, one of the biggest reasons I'm talking about this really is this generation debate, you know, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. For me, it's a rerun. You know, it's a rerun. You know why it's a rerun? Because the silent generation, the greatest generation I forget if it's the greatest generation and the silent generation back to back. I know they're back to back. I forget the order. But my grandparents' generation did a lot of heavy lifting. And their kids were the Woodstock kids. You get what I'm saying? So the people that you see now who are in political office, a lot of the boomers, they were considered the Woodstock kids, the kids that was, you know, sexually liberated and, you know, on psychedelic drugs and against the war and blah blah blah. Their parents worked themselves to death while they were being young and free. on drugs and all that other stuff. And then, they became parents and got and somebody was footing the bill for them for all their lives. And when they became adults and parents, they didn't look out for people behind them. So they've been selfish from birth to now. So what you're seeing is, and I've said it before, people don't want to hear it, but Gen X, a lot of us were raised by our grandparents, that generation. So we have their ideals and ideologies. Because our parents were, a lot of our parents, a lot of boomer parents were spoiled kids. Y'all forget, the baby boom came after World War II. So the vast majority of America was living, quote unquote, better. Even it was Jim Crow. Don't get it twisted, but because this country was producing everything for all these other countries, the not just the cost of living, the lifestyle was better than it was prior. Because like my grandparents, their parents basically grew up in the Great Depression. You get what I'm saying? And they worked as children. So our parents didn't really get down like that. What's happening, dog? So then it becomes Gen X. And we're a little, we off. I got it. We off, the violence in the crack area, we off. Don't get it twisted. But we were the kids who our parents had us, dancing for the people in the middle of the night where they was throwing parties in the house and people was getting drunk, people was getting high, So a lot of us have seen this. So between us and millennials, when I see Gen Z, I see it all over again. Because what you have is parents who want to live their best life and party and not really be responsible because somebody is still like helping them as adults. You're seeing them be horrible parents. So the kids are coming out, what people say people coming out horrible, but what part of what's gonna happen is them kids, as they get to the age to be on their own, they're gonna start being way more responsible. Because whether y'all like to hear it or not, you don't want to see your parents drunk on a regular basis. You don't want to see your parents, wanting to go to the next party or the next brunch, or your parents getting high all the time. A lot of you, and I hate to say it, but and I've said it before, a lot of you weed smokers have become dope fiends. And y'all don't think about the impact, especially the ones y'all parents. As parents, y'all picking your kids up, y'all dropping your kids off to school high, picking your kids up high. Y'all kids ain't going to school on time because y'all just doing whatever y'all want to do. Even though y'all are not, even though you don't have, your kid's not a, say a crack baby, you're doing crackhead things. So the kids are suffering from it. So some of this, the kids aren't as smart. They don't have as education. That's because what's happening is these newer kids are missing out because they don't have grandparents like we did to right the ship. Because the grandparents now are basically working because there's nobody to nobody died. There's nobody to live off of. There's nobody to live off of now. So now what you're doing is you're seeing the rerun of it's about to happen all over again. The problem is, and I gotta add something to this. The soft society that we see now, we've seen it already. See, if you're a black male, you didn't heard back in my day before. You didn't heard when I was a teenager. My uncles, and my people that would have been my grandparents' age. Boy, y'all kids soft, boy. Boy, y'all kids soft, boy. Back in my day, boy, we did all that, boy. We had, what I'm saying. I had to put an engine in the car with my hand, boy. What I'm saying. I had to hold the side of a house up, boy. Y'all boys soft, boy. You know what I'm saying? We could when we hunted sometimes, man, I had to hunt with a Swiss Army knife to kill a hog, boy. We had to chase it down, boy. Like we've heard that before. It didn't pan out that we was as soft as they thought. But we've seen how um communities got soft and people started and it affected the whole thing. And what I mean is the society that people are seeing now, oh man, these people aren't ready for what if the country goes to war? It's like, bruh, I hate to break the news to you, but if you talk to any black soldiers, they'll tell you from any generation who are alive in any war, a lot of the times, you know, the other people in their the white folks, because it was mostly white folks back in the day. Now it's more, integrated Hispanics and all that, and some Asians and all that. But they were cowards. They were soft cowards. They could shoot at anything that wasn't shooting back. But if something shot back, it's not. They'll fold. That's always been a thing. West side is the best side. So it's a rerun to us. It happens over and over and over and over again. So what you're starting to see, you know, and what I'm starting to see, is it wasn't that black men back in the day were deadbeats. It wasn't that black men back in the day weren't abusive. I mean, there's people like that existed. Yeah, I get it. But what it was black men became indifferent. That's what it became. And brother, and the older I get, the more indifferent I get because I'm like, oh, okay. Because because all these other groups of people, they have a safety net, that's built into society. And we see their safety net catch them over and over and over again until they reach a certain age. And then, or either they reach a certain age and there's no safety net after that age, or they put themselves in such a bad spot that the safety net can't help them, so they're on their own anyways. But so what we see is a nation of people who really, they like to talk about the black community being on welfare, but America has a welfare system for every group, really except us as black men. What people consider welfare for us is pretty much prison. That's why so much prison reform. They don't care about, and this is what I mean about indifferent. If you, as a black man, you learn that, oh man, if I'm not in prison or if I'm not a child, even the black community says I'm on my own. That once you're in that, if you're not, you want prison reform for criminals and stuff to go on for criminals, but at the same time, you want people to help the kids, but the grown men, nothing. And people go, well, they grown men. They're supposed to do what? Let me guess, provide for the community, right? Yeah, we've seen it all over again. And that's why them old guys got indifferent. They wasn't upset all the time and drinking all the time. When people would say they was drinking and upset and beating up people, y'all don't want to hear the reality was they were angry because they were helping people who weren't doing anything with their lives. So they were pissed off. They were going to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, side hustles, and they were coming home to people who just wasn't doing nothing with their lives. Yeah. Why do you think even to this day you're seeing a lot of, they had the little speech about a lot of college age kids, well, young men and young women, in all communities basically will go back and live with their parents because school is so expensive and blah 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 blah. It's like, wait a minute, they couldn't get out into the real world because they couldn't afford it. Because they weren't taking because they didn't take it serious until a bill came after their graduation. That's what happened. And now you're seeing this with other groups of people where these groups are like, yo, I can't afford to keep taking care of all these people who trying to get it together. Because what you're seeing is, and this is why I'm saying it's a rerun. I saw it with I want to say that's the greatest generation where they're because there would be my uncles, aunts, parents' age, a little bit, people my parents' age and a little and older. Like I saw adults living with their parents well into their 40s. I saw adults watch their parents, basically have two homes and two mortgages because they were just working overtime all the time because they got sick of their kids, so they just bought a different house. So y'all need to get over there. I've seen that happen because people forget that there was a lot of, even though black men were underemployed, there was a lot of black men working multiple jobs. That's where you get that whole, brothers was doing landscaping businesses. Like now what you see, quote unquote, Mexicans doing landscaping, roofing, construction work. That was what black men was doing the whole time. Sun up to sundown, doing something, fixing cars, hustling, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of times, we're seeing now other groups of people having to deal with this. But us as black men, it's like, this is why people have gotten indifferent. Because it used to be you're supposed to do better than the next generation, than the generation prior to you, because the generation prior to you gave you a leg up. And what you saw even in this country politically, the generations ahead of us, they weren't thinking about the generations that came behind them. They didn't really make sacrifices for the generation that came behind them. They made sacrifices. They sacrificed the generations behind them for their own self-interest. So, and we've seen it before. So for me, it's like everything is a rerun. And just like all of these people, doing this birth of a nation, if we got rid of all the black people, let's low key buy all these guns. Let's low key say the black community is the biggest problem in America. And if they just got in line, somehow it'll balance the U.S. budget. And it's all a hustle. Because all blaming black America is, and blaming black men is, we need to figure out some political way. We don't lynch anymore because some of y'all don't realize um it's not just birth of a nation, but even the whole lynching thing, and Jim Crow. There was a financial windfall for all the broke folks when they did that. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, they would run people out of town. Now you got free land. They would lynch folks. Now you got free land, and you take all of their stuff. What because when they run out of town, they can't come back and get their stuff. You get what I'm saying? This idea, how can I say that? there used to be a time where where folks would just build their own stuff or add on to their own stuff. People didn't like their stuff. They wanted somebody else's too. So to me, this is all a rerun of, we got to figure out how to get their stuff too. We got to demonize these people, make them the villain of the story, because if we can say everybody's a criminal, we could confiscate their stuff and nobody cares because we broke right now. So for us, it's a rerun. And then, you're seeing, even when you talk about the brainwashing, you're seeing people tell it to the youth the same thing they told us as a youth about, we gotta, the youth gonna change it. It's on the young folks to change everything. It's on the young folks to do it. The next generation gonna come and do it. When we gotta make sure the next generation ready. And it's like, no, what you basically saying is you ain't gonna do nothing. That's what you're saying. So you got a group of loud people who are telling the whole community, the next generation gonna bring us to the promised land, with no explanation because they told us the same thing. But what they didn't say was they wanted the next generation to bring them to the promised land, but everybody, all the young people in the next generation was gonna have to get it out the mud. That's the key. And if you can get it out the mud, everybody else can eat off of you while you getting it out the mud. That's where y'all get the whole dynamic of the stereotype of the black athlete or entertainer. The first thing they do with their money is buy their mama a house. That's where they come from. So it's a rerun. So if you can peep the rerun, you could go, oh, okay, it's your at a certain point it's your duty to understand what happens is what's about to happen. Just like the up and downs with the economy. We saw the whole drug thing happening already. The country needed money, so they got into the drug game. They got into the drug game in Vietnam. Then they got into the drug game with Iran Contra. And then they got into the drug game after 9/11. All for money. All for money. And guess who got villainized in that whole thing? So now it's the same thing over and over and over again. Country needs money, whatever. But now they're gonna legalize it, right? But like, real talk. It all of these moves don't work out the way America wants them to work out. A lot of, even with the demonization of black folks, a lot of people don't realize it demonizing black men and even criminalizing black men, whether it's children, whether it's teenager, whether it's adults, whether it's people that's just 9 to 5 citizens, or whether it's actual criminals, which usually are the vast minority of black men. All of it is it was for somebody to get paid on the job. That's how they get paid on the job. Teachers got paid for miseducating black boys. You know what I'm saying? and then teenagers got got used in school. And see, the football thing and the basketball thing kind of changed it because now you need them because, like I said earlier, you making money off these kids. So now, damn, we can't get rid of you the way we want it. The 70s, you know, really the 60s and 70s with musicianship and like the Motown Stax Records era, that and Michael Jackson got people in a bind because it's like, yo, we got to take that out of the schools. We got to take music out of the schools. It wasn't because music was a bad thing, or art was a bad thing. They took it out of the school because they saw too many black people immediately making too much money doing music. That became an issue. The sports and entertainment thing became an issue. So people got to make money off of it. And I got you. You're right about that. But the other thing came to, because you see it now, you know, and now you see this whole thing where we got to criminalize the men because we got to lock people up because people got paid for that. And for the last like 10, 15 years, you've seen crime go down, and especially in our community. And guess what that's a problem with? People lost jobs. So it's hard for America now because we're not, you can't even scapegoat us to play us the same way you once could. So now it leaves America with a bad option. You know, are you going to treat everybody else in America like they're black to make up the difference? Which in some ways people are doing, and now people can't handle it. And we're watching it. We're like, oh, y'all can't handle it. And we've seen that before. That's what the Great Depression was. They ruined the economy during the Great Depression being greedy, right? And guess what? White America couldn't handle it. But Black America was like, oh, okay, we are poor. Like we've always been poor. What's the big deal? Everybody else couldn't handle it. And this is what you're seeing now. You're seeing everybody else not being able to handle the coming collapse. That's why you see all of this, the Trump stuff and the Harris stuff now. It's all just metaphysical BS to make people feel good. And we're not part of the equation because we're supposed to be like political cannon fodder. So, when this don't work out for both sides of the way they thought, we're gonna be to blame anyways. But they gonna still be under the bus though. And that's I'm glad you said that, because this is one of the things about America that's becoming an issue. You can't really be an entrepreneur in America anymore. They killed that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but look how difficult it is nowadays to have a business, because they made it so bureaucratic and so much red tape. Everything that people did as an entrepreneur to make money, you can't really Airbnb like that anymore, because guess what? People going to destroy your stuff, and the insurance company don't want to cover that. People are, what do you call that? Let me start a rental car business. Not a good idea now. The restaurant business is not a good idea. You get what I'm saying? Walmart ain't even what it used to be. And it's everywhere. McDonald's ain't what it used to be, because basically what happened with all, uh, um, the business community, just like a lot of the biggest businesses in America, really were ideas that people invested in that they got ignored, or for people's how can I say this? They were mistakes or things that were overlooked that people wouldn't even think would happen, you know. And what I mean by that is, why did Uber become big? Because people got sick of taxi cab drivers being scumbags. That's how that happened. You get what I'm saying? How did Amazon come into play? They were selling books across nationwide and started realizing logistics. Facebook. Oh, it was basically college communication that just somehow exploded because it can get a bunch of people's information. People figured that out on the back end. Tesla. The government kept funding this because it's another information thing. Like it's hard to hear. We don't hear stories of entrepreneurs starting a business like that without getting. And even with Amazon, they were funded for what, damn near a decade, losing money by a bunch of rich folks. You're not hearing stories of people actually just being entrepreneurs and being able to grind it out because people aren't, the bureaucracy's killing them. The internet is a good business too, but the problem is what? They're trying to algorithm people to death now. But that's not, for me, it's not a big deal, but because basically you can't just sabotage us as a community. You got to sabotage everybody. You see it on YouTube. You see it on TikTok. You see it on Instagram. A lot of time, the most useful stuff it's not gonna be supported or viewed by the masses the way fluff is. It's a rerun. Even a living hell is a rerun. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, this stuff gets easier once you see it coming over and over and over and over again. You can predict this stuff. It's predictable because the character of America has never changed. Greedy, selfish, manipulative, opportunistic. And it has a downfall. And just like that, and just like them owning their real estate, a lot of them are underwater. A lot of them are underwater. Because the difference, and it's the same thing I said, it's still a rerun. When I talked about bankruptcy earlier, the difference is now that for some odd reason, if you black, you gonna know not to get in too much debt. Because you're not really gonna get access to a gang of money like that anyways. As far as getting loaned a gang of money, you're not gonna get that. But the other thing is this: if you owe $5,000-$10,000, it could feel like, it's on your neck. But if you out here owing $250,000, that's what that's what these suburbs are dealing with now. Because they've been given so much. Hey, go ahead and buy that $80,000 truck. Go ahead and buy that $400,000 home. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and put that on your credit card. Go ahead and just put off those student loans. Go ahead. Go ahead and just shop till you drop. Go ahead. And then they get loan after loan after loan after loan after loan. And that idea that people used to, get a new credit card to max that one out to pay the old one off. Can't even do that no more. Like, we're at a point where you're really about to see people collapse. Now, the only difference with the collapse nowadays that might be a little bit different is, and I'm going to say it this way, is the obesity. And the reason why I'm saying obesity is because when this country was living high on the hog back in the day, it didn't show in as many obese people and as many spoiled people because people were outside. It wasn't, air conditioning and all the comforts of a sedentary life. You had to actually move and shake in the world. Now what you're about to get is a collapse from people who are accustomed to being indoors. And they're going to be their own worst enemy because they're not going to be accustomed to being outside. That's a new thing. But that ain't going to be good. Well, I mean, the house Negroes of America are going to have to be field Negroes, and they're going to have a mental breakdown. But, you know, hold up. But I'm going to leave it at that, man. I think I done spoke enough, man. Y'all have a good one. I'm going to head in this thing. I got things to do. So catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
It looks like a job for Superman.
Do this,
Spoken from the lips of the young or the old, there are many.
Yeah. Gotta put it all in.
And they are Superman.
All the way.
I guess I'm taking off the cake through the glasses in the trash. Being super is great, saving y'all is such a drag. Even God took a break, me I ain't coming back. I got one life to live, if you don't like it, that's your ass. Cause nobody saved me, plus when I'm drunk I'm just a peon. I could use somebody just like I'm the kings of neon. This world is cold as ice, mixed with salt, mixed with freon. They got me pissed off, but that's better than being peed on. For eons, human beings took kindness for weakness. When you constipated, you start to appreciate shit. Put before you life and death, and you just gotta choose. The cryptonite life means you should follow the rules. If your credit's messed up or your bills ain't paid, then it's getting disconnected. Can't nobody say the day. And I can fly, leap a building in a single bound, but I can't stand fair weather friends, and I just fly around. My super friends in Justice League, only folk I kick it with. Kill Lex Luthor, so what, we had to finish it. Kids play games and adults play for keeps, and me, I play to win, but I ain't playing in these streets. And life is not a joke, then again it ain't this serious. Superman can say the day, but God can say the Superman. Saga of the cryptonite, life just ended. You enjoy listening? Man, I'll finish it.
Lois, come holler at me. I got an ice couch. Thank you for coming out, listening. I knew you would like it because we made it. I'm so frigid and so fly.